Så vi læser på dansk. Læser vi fra et specielt vers. Do you understand English?
Something.
But this is a Danish book. I take any verse.
You have English book there if you like English, but The verse you can choose, yeah.
No, but I think for Komago we should speak in English.
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Do we read any verse? Any?
Sure. Yeah.
Any verse you like them.
Okay. Let's take 262. Jatha Vishayan Pungsa Sangha Teshu Upajayate Sangha Sanjayate Kamat Krodha Abhijayate Jayato Vishayan Pungsa Jayato Vishayan Pungsa Sanghasteshu Pajayate Sangha Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodho Vijayate Jayato Vishayan Pungsa Sanghasteshu Pajayate Sangha Sanjayate Kama Krodho Vijayate. Do you want to?
Jayato Vishayan Pumsam. Sangateshu Pajayate. Sangat Sanjayate Kama. Kama Krodha Vijayate.
Jayato Vishayan Pumsa.
Sangateshu Pajayate.
Sangat Sanjate Kama. Kama Skrodha Vijayate. Jayata.
While contemplating. Vishayan. Sense objects. Pumsa. Our person. Sangha. Attachment. Teshu. In the sense objects. Upajayate. Develops. Sangat. From attachment. Sanjayate. Develops. Kama. Desire. Kamat. From desire. Krodha. Anger. Abhijayate. Becomes manifest. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. Purport. One who's not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires while contemplating the objects of the senses. The senses require real engagements, and if they're not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of sense objects, and the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deep in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridas Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi. But Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above-mentioned verse, enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment is in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not, therefore, in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail, for the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires. So the verse again, Jato Vishyanpung Sang Sankasteshu Pajayate Sankas Sanjayate Kama Krodho Vijayate. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises.
And so, I hope it's okay, I go on the altar service now.
Yes.
But I can listen from there.
Okay. Om Agyan Tamanda Sankiran Tanasagya Chaksanam Chamina Tasmai Sri Guru Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Chandra Sri Vaidikadar Har Sri Sri Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. So the Krishna conscious process, the process of Krishna consciousness is very scientific. We can, by looking at ourselves and how we advance in Krishna consciousness, we can see that it follows exact science that Prabhupada has described. Like this progression from first Shraddha, then Sadhusanga, then Bhajana Kriya, then Anataniriti, then Ruchi, or Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and up to Prema. So we can each look at ourselves and also at other devotees, and we can see where they are on this process. Now, most of us, we are on Anataniriti. That means we are on the platform where we battle with the material desires in the heart. And they don't go away just like that. We have been nurturing and cultivating these desires for millions of lifetimes. We've been in the material world many, many lifetimes, millions and billions of lifetimes. And we have been cultivating these desires, so they won't go away just like that. But in this age of Kali, there's one very good thing. Although the age of Kali is a very bad age and everything is very bad, culture is disappearing, everything. The people who are supposed to lead us, the politicians and the kshatriyas, the military, the police, they're just turning into rogues and thieves. So everything is very bad in Kali Yuga. Kali dosha nitya rajan astihe kumahan gunan kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangam paraya mukta sangam mukta sangam prajati. That there's one, even though this Kali Yuga is a very bad age with so many bad qualities, there's one thing which is very good, and that is kirtanat eva krishnasya. Just by chanting the name of Krishna, one can become liberated. Now, before in other ages, to become liberated, like devotees who even don't care about liberation. What does liberation mean? Liberation means simply to become free from suffering. That's what it means to become liberated. To go to Brahman, no suffering, just existence. But there's also not the bliss of Goloka, to just become liberated. So therefore devotees, they don't actually care much for liberation. They want to go back and play with Krishna. And we see in Krishna's pastimes, the devotees, they suffer so much. The Pandavas, they were suffering, they had to go through so many sufferings. Prabhupada, who came to the West, he had to go through so much suffering to come and preach Krishna consciousness. So the devotees of Lord Krishna, they don't care for liberation, they actually don't care to become free from suffering, they just care to engage in Krishna service. And what is it that Krishna wants us to do? He wants us to preach Krishna consciousness to the whole world. That was Prabhupada's mission, and that's why he started ISKCON, to preach this philosophy and religion all over the world. So just like we can see that how we progress is very scientific, and we can see exactly where we are in the devotional ladder, so similarly also here it describes in a very scientific way how you start to become attached to the sense objects. Because we all know, as soon as you start meditating upon something, when the mind starts going, oh, I would really like this, and starts contemplating the sense objects, then there's no way back. Then maybe the intelligence can come and say, no, it's not good. But the mind will be strong and say, I don't care, I want this. It's always like that. As soon as that we give the mind just a little finger, it'll take the whole arm. This is mind, because the mind is basically Maya. So the only thing we have in ourselves to control the mind is the intelligence. So when the intelligence becomes stronger, it can control the mind. But in the beginning, when the mind is very strong, especially in the West, people are so attached to sense gratification. It's because the mind is contemplating all the time sense objects. You just go out in the street and your mind is bombarded with sense objects. Posters with half-naked women. Or everywhere you see, they're bombarding you with sense objects. Booze, liquor, women, meat. There are 4 sinful activities. They're advertising them all over the place, as if it's completely normal. Like if you go some places in India and you couldn't even think of eating meat because it comes from an animal who was slaughtered. It's completely unnatural to eat a dead animal, to eat a carcass. But in the West it's considered completely normal. There's nothing wrong with eating meat. It's actually something wrong if you don't eat meat. People think you're weird. So in the West it's a very sinful atmosphere, and so the devotees have a very hard time here preaching. But we see how it is actually going forward, how even though it goes very slowly, people are gradually becoming interested. Like here in the ISKCON temple, there are many people coming every Sunday for the Sunday feast, and the congregation is growing. But back to this verse here, we should know that as soon as the mind starts saying something, and if we start to allow it, then we have lost. Because if the mind wants something and we start thinking about it, yes, it would be nice, that means we have lost. We cannot pull the mind back. So to control the mind, as soon as the mind comes with some sinful desire, I want to smoke, I want to have sex, I want to drink, I want to do something, then immediately we have to say, no, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Immediately we have to connect the mind with the Hare Krishna mantra. If as soon as we start thinking here, it says, when you start contemplating the objects of the senses, you develop attachment. And then from that attachment, that means, oh, I would really like this, you become lusty. Lust develops. And then from this lust, when it is not satisfied, it turns into anger. So it's completely natural, scientific, that a life of sense gratification, people are very angry all the time when they don't get the sense gratification they want. And even if they do, it never satisfies anyone anyway. Anybody knows that. It's like eating. You can satisfy yourself by eating, But then sometime, half a day later, you're hungry again, you have to eat some more. Sense gratification is like that. It doesn't really satisfy one. One has to have it again and again and again. Like sex also. You just have to repeat the same thing. And then it becomes boring, and then you have to try something new. That's the nature of sense gratification. Too much sense gratification makes you sick of it, and you want to try something else. But in spiritual life and the spiritual practice is completely opposite. Because in the beginning it can feel a little boring, feel some strain in the mind to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. But the more you do it, the more and more blissful it becomes, the more nice it becomes. Every devotee has that experience. It never becomes boring to chant Hare Krishna, or to have kirtan, or to talk about Krishna, or to tell Krishna's pastimes. It's always ecstatic, because Krishna, he is now a yavana, he is ever young, and he's always, he's eternal. So we are also eternal, but because we are in this body, which is temporary, then we misidentify ourselves, and we think we can be happy in an atmosphere of temporal, in a happiness, in an atmosphere of temporariness, where things never last. But we can never be happy with things that don't last. We will say, well, that's good in the case of suffering. We may say, well, it's good that it doesn't last. Yes, that's good, but it's not good when the joy doesn't last. We try so hard to find joy in the material world, and then when we get it, then it goes again, and then it gives rise to suffering. So that's why in the material world, actually according to the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says it's a place of suffering. Even, no matter how good karma we have, how much we are able to enjoy, still it all ends in suffering, because we have to grow old and sick and we die. Say I have a very good karma, I have all my desires fulfilled, I have all the sex and drugs and rock and roll that I want. But then I become old and sick and I die, so it ends in suffering. Everything in the material world will end in suffering. You find your only love, then she leaves, then you suffer. Or you have nice kids and then they become drug addicts, then you suffer. So the same things that you love, so-called love in the material world, the same things also give you suffering. So that's why as a devotee we have to give up our attachment to this duality of happiness and distress in the material world. Because it is actually all the same. We may say, well, it's better to enjoy than to suffer, and that may be, but the things in the material world that we enjoy, these same things will also make us suffer when we can't have them. So therefore, as devotees, we have to find enjoyment on another platform, and that is the platform of serving Krishna and chanting Krishna's name. And by doing that, one will, again I say, it's a scientific process. It's a scientific fact that if you add Krishna to your life will become satisfied. You will feel satisfaction. Of course, if you go to Krishna with material motivations, well, then you should also, even if you have material desires, you should pray to Krishna for them. There's this verse, kama sarva kama va, moksha kama udaradi. Whatever desires you have, material desires, no desires, desires for spiritual advancement, whatever desire you have, you should go and ask Krishna for it. Even you have material desires, ask Krishna for them. He may or he may not fulfill them. If you want it strongly enough, he will definitely fulfill it. Even if you have material desires, Krishna will fulfill those desires. Because Krishna, he is fulfilling everyone's desires. Even a person who doesn't know anything about Krishna, who's an atheist, but to have his desires fulfilled, he needs the grace of the Super Soul, Otherwise you couldn't even move in the material world. You couldn't even lift your arm without the Super Soul allowing you. The Super Soul allows and oversees. Everything that you do, everything that happens to you has to be sanctioned first by the Super Soul. Upadrasta Anumanta Cha. The Super Soul is the overseer of everything. That's Krishna in the heart. And he is the sanctioner. He has to give permission. So these two functions, we couldn't be in the material world without everything being viewed by the Super Soul and being permitted. So of course an atheist would say, but that's just nature, it's nothing to do with God. That's okay, but then at least we have to admit that we are dependent on nature. But today people won't even admit that. They understand, they think they can just treat nature in any way they want. They pour all kinds of chemicals into it when they grow. They use artificial means and chemicals to make things grow. And it's not nice towards nature, and nature reacts. All the living entities that we slaughter daily, nature becomes very angry because nature is actually a person. It's Mother Bhumi. It's Durga. Nature is a woman, and we know if we mistreat women, we get hell. And that's how, same way if we mistreat. So even if we want to be an atheist and just enjoy in the material world, we still have to follow the Vedic process. That's why the Vedic process is so nice, that even if you don't want to be religious and you don't want to have anything to do with God, but you still have to deal with nature, and then you have to worship the demigods to appease nature. But again, in this age of Kali, people don't know all these things. Still in India they know some things, and they worship Mother Durga to get a nice result of their work. But it is said that there's only one sacrifice which is effective in Kali Yuga, and that is the Hare Krishna mantra. It says in the Upanishads, Itishu dasya kamnanam kali kalmashanashanam natha paratayopaya sarva vedeshu drishate. That after looking through all the Vedas, one will find no more sublime religion than to chant this mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra. Itishu dasya kamnanam. It means this mantra of 16 words and 32 syllables. So, and it says there's no other way to counteract the negative influence of Kali Yuga than by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So that's why devotees, we are so eager to distribute books and to distribute the holy name, to distribute prasadam, and to distribute the glories of Krishna. We are so eager to preach to people, just to get them to say Krishna, because as soon as a person says Jai Krishna, as soon as a person says Krishna, then he's basically saved. He can't go to hell. He's saved from hell. Now in the Western society, people are so sinful that they will all go to hell after this life. They'll be picked up by the Yamadutas and they will go to hell. But so many people here, when we are on Harinam, they hear the holy name Krishna, and they say, even if a person says, look at these idiotic Hare Krishnas, then he is immediately saved from hell, just by saying Hare Krishna. It says clearly in the Gaura Purana, even if you say the name of Hari, you say it in a joking way, or you don't have any regard or anything, you just say it as a joke, even then it will counteract more sinful activities than you can commit. So the devotees are very glorious because they are practically saving this whole world from hell.